Men are draining by default. Even the best men I know are tremendous amounts of labor and tremendous amounts of risk. That just having a man in your life is going to bring you more labor. It's going to be your domestic labor, your emotional labor, your spiritual labor, because as women, we are the source, which means that we are giving by default.
I don't know what this woman is smoking, but modern day women are not giving by default. I swear every single one of these modern women, TikTok female dating coaches, okay, thinks that she's just contributing so much spiritual and emotional labor to the relationship, when oftentimes these women are not contributing anything at all. But what is going on, guys? It is Taylor the Fiend back again. And on today's episode, I have a clip here that I want to show you guys from a female dating coach who essentially just goes on an unhinged rant, claiming that men are draining to women. Okay, apparently we're siphoning all of their resources. We represent a huge amount of risk and so on. I just thought this was absolutely insane. So let's jump right into this one. And if we have some spare time today, we will also cover some other ridiculous clips. So guys, don't forget to leave your thoughts and your comments, and let's take a listen. So she says, I say this with full love for men. Let's take a listen.
I say this with full love for men, but the reality is that men are draining by default. That the default assumption that you need to make for a man in your life is that he is not the source. In fact, he is draining. He is draining by default.
So let me get this straight. Men are draining by default. And she'll go on to say, oh, men are draining because I have to do so much domestic labor, so much emotional labor, so much spiritual labor. You know, and they just have to essentially make up words that don't exist. I understand that domestic labor obviously is real and tangible, but however, spiritual and emotional labor, get the hell out of here, guys. Half the time, these women do not know how to cook. They do not know how to clean. And this woman's sitting here going, yeah, we just provide so much. Really? Because I've noticed a tremendous amount of men dipping out of the dating market or dating in general because of simply how little modern women are providing to relationships. They expect so damn much of the average guy, to the point where the average guy is straight up invisible, and then they come on here and they make videos like this saying that men are draining by default.
He is going back. He is draining. He is draining by default. He is going to drain your time, your energy, your compassion, and your love. He is going to drain your beauty and your youth and your all the resources that you have.
Wait. So let me get this straight. Men are apparently the ones who are draining your resources and draining your youth. First of all, it's actually the other way around. Modern women drain men's resources. Okay, women are certainly not out here providing for men on a long-term basis whatsoever. You know, like, again, guys, all of this womanism just leaves their bodies whenever the bill comes. I am absolutely telling you. Okay, they expect men to provide for them. So get out of here with this whole men are draining on your resources thing. Women are the ones who are actively draining men's resources. This is just straight up projection here. I find this to be totally ridiculous, man, how you have these clips and the reality is just so far backwards. Also, men are not draining your youth. This is just something that happens when you get older. It's as simple as that. It really is. Everybody's going to get old. Everybody's going to get wrinkles. That's the way it goes. It's not men draining your youth. If you don't want to spend years with a man, nobody is forcing you to spend years with a man. In fact, these days, strong and independent women, i.e., you know, independent of men is really what it means, which they're not. No, there's so many of these women out here now to the point where society doesn't even encourage you to get a man. You can go out there, you can do whatever the hell you want. You don't want to commit to a guy? Fantastic. I think one guy will honestly be better off.
All the resources that you have. Men are draining by default. Even the best men I know are tremendous amounts of labor and tremendous amounts of risk. That just having a man in your life is going to bring you more labor. It's going to be your domestic labor, your emotional labor, your spiritual labor, because as women, we are the source.
What in the hell is going on here? So I've noticed this a lot more recently where women will start to say things like emotional and spiritual labor. I think anytime a woman starts to go on about these things, you can pretty much just write her off as completely crazy. So let me get this straight. Dudes are out here, right? Working jobs, paying the bills, putting a house over these women's heads, okay? But don't worry, she's sitting at home doing the spiritual labor. She's sitting at home doing the emotional labor. And as far as the domestic labor is concerned, let's be real, guys. A lot of modern women simply cannot do domestic labor. You know, they'll cook you food, and there's a good chance you'll have to go to the emergency room these days. Okay, because a lot of women from the ages of 20 to 30, particularly of this generation, not exactly the best cooks. You know, like really, like a lot of them are incredibly messy. They have no culinary skills whatsoever. And so meanwhile, while you're paying the bills, apparently she's contributing domestic labor, which she can't do. And then emotional and spiritual labor, whatever the hell these things mean. Now, just by the way, guys, you know, if there are women out there who are doing absolutely great domestic labor, I'm not trying to discount the fact that if you make your man a meal, he's not going to appreciate the hell out of it. But what I am saying is these things are not equal. Men are expected to provide, to care about you, to look after your physical safety, and so on and so forth. And meanwhile, you're over here providing emotional and spiritual labor, i.e. things that are invisible and are just made up. It's ridiculous. Like, this is just straight up a scam for dudes. No dudes are falling for this. Oh, this 40-plus-year-old woman, I can't wait for her to provide me with some emotional labor. Said no dude ever.
Bring you more labor. It's going to be your domestic labor, your emotional labor, your spiritual labor, because as women, we are the source, which means that we are giving by default. Women bring value to men by default.
This is simply not true, by the way. A lot of women are straight up liabilities, man. You know, they make you look bad in front of your friends. A lot of them have been with a whole bunch of different dudes. A lot of them will disrespect their man these days because they think that they deserve better. This idea that women bring value to men by default is completely ridiculous. And if it were true, then hey, maybe all of these women crying on TikTok that they can't get relationships, maybe if they were bringing value, then maybe this wouldn't be the case. Maybe they wouldn't be stuck out here in the streets with no man wanting them. Like the amount of videos that I have covered at this point where women will be like, I bring so much value to men, and yet none of the dudes that they want them. The amount of videos that I've seen like that are absolutely crazy. In fact, I did one yesterday. Literally yesterday, I covered a video of a woman, you know, breaking down, losing her marbles, essentially because she didn't feel like she was good enough, even though she was so valuable, apparently. If you're so valuable, why is it that men don't want to date you? That's my question. You know, you're out here, you're selling a car. This is the best car ever. You know, it's got all of these features. It's so awesome, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but nobody's bought the car. So what are we talking? People are not really buying modern women these days, guys. They're like, you know, relationship statistics are way down. Far less dudes getting married these days, far less people having children these days, significant rises in people who are single, significant increases in people who are not looking for relationships, and so on. So please explain to me just how much value you are bringing to men by default, because I don't see it. And not to say, by the way, guys, there might be some fantastic women out there who are actually feminine, who haven't been with a whole bunch of dudes, who can cook and things like this. But in Western society and modern day, I'm sure those numbers are quite thin indeed.
By women bring value to men by default, by all that we pour into them naturally, that we give to their well-being.
This woman spooks me, man. You know, these women, they jump on videos and they're like, I'm so intimidating to men. Some of these women actually scare me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Like, these are the types of women who you live with them and then you wake up and just, you know, something's not right. Some days you just might not wake up, I think, is the concern that you might have. You know, you might go outside, you might start your car, and for some reason, after an argument that you guys had last night, all of your tires are flat for some reason. These are the types of you know, feelings I'm getting from this particular video. Like, these girls are just absolute nut jobs, absolutely crazy.
All that we pour into them naturally, that we give to their well-being, to the beauty, to the joy, to their every single aspect of their experience in life, a woman by default, just your average run-of-the-mill woman, not even trying that hard, maybe not even that invested. By default, the default setting of woman is to bring value.
I'm going to call complete nonsense on that. I don't think that's true whatsoever. I think it's actually the complete opposite. If you were to take a random average woman off the street, let's just say some 20, 25, 26-year-old woman, and you were to try and put her in a committed relationship, I don't think that what she has to bring to the table, as it were, by default, is going to be really that beneficial to the man at all. Because here's the thing. If you take and it also depends, right? Because typically what happens is you put an average woman into a relationship with an average man, she doesn't want to be there. She absolutely doesn't. You think average women are looking at average dudes? Absolutely not. This is why so many of them are single. This is why so many of them say that dating sucks and that men are horrible and things like this, is because you have these women who are chasing such a small percentage of men, and then, you know, obviously failing to get relationships from these guys and applying the negatives about this to all men. And they don't care about the average guy. They don't care about the guy who's working on his career, who hasn't quite made it yet, or the guy who started his fitness journey, but maybe he's a little bit on the tubbier side, right? He's got a few extra pounds on him. They don't give a damn, okay? Like, the women quite literally wait at the finish line, and they have not, oftentimes, what's the word I'm looking for? Cultivated anything that men are interested in. And women seem to think that their career is somehow going to convince men. It isn't. You're a 31-year-old woman, you're pushing 32, 33, and you start going on about your career. This is not a selling point for men. Women oftentimes these days, guys, do not provide value to a man's life by default. And if that were true, why is nobody wifing you up? Riddle me that.
Average run-of-the-mill woman, not even trying that hard, maybe not even that invested. By default, the default setting of woman is to bring value. Just you hugging a man, just you paying attention and listening to a man, just you caring for a man, let alone all the things that I'm sure you probably are so thoughtful and so considerate and so generous and so giving and spend so much time coaching him and counseling him and loving him and lifting him up. All these things by default without even trying, we do. Not to mention, you're going to be making his health better, his house better. You're going to be introducing him to your friends. You're going to be giving him fun, amazing things to be doing on the holidays. You might be giving him children so he's not alone in his old age. You're going to be amplifying his status in the eyes of his coworkers, his colleagues, other women.
Okay, so let me pause it here. I could break down each of these things individually and talk about why exactly they're nonsense, but I'm just going to pick one at random. I'm going to pick the children one here. Any woman who sits there and says, hey, listen, I'm going to give this man kids, right? Like, I'm doing him a favor by giving him children, not worthy of being a mother, in my opinion. It's not about, you don't give kids to a man. You have children together, right? This is not something where, okay, you have his kids, quote unquote, and now he's indebted to you. This is not something where you're providing a service. Okay, you're supposed to actually be an invested mother. You're supposed to want to have children with this man, right? You're building a family together. This is not one person doing a favor for another one. Okay, this is you two trying to share a life together, trying to build a family together. Anytime I hear this language of like my kids or I give kids to a man, like, what the hell is this? You know, this is not some service or good that you're providing, madam. It really isn't. This is a little bit more serious than this. Insofar as the providing status and things like this, let me just say this. A lot of women these days do not really provide status. Like, yes, they might get you a bit more attention, right? Let's just say you're going out with a woman or something like that. You'll probably get a little bit more attention. But here's the thing, guys. Upon closer inspection, particularly by friends and things like this, a lot of these women are actually quite embarrassing to be around. They've been with a whole bunch of different dudes. Oftentimes they have attitude problems, especially if they're on the older side of things and still single, or if they're just not attracted to you, they'll treat you like trash. The amount of times that I have seen women go out and just put their man down is absolutely insane, particularly the ones who are early 30s and things like this, because what happens is they get into these relationships, they feel like they're settling, they feel like they could do better, and so they just disrespect the hell out of their man. I think the average age that people get married is like pushing 30, if not 30 now. And the reason for this is because women are wanting to prolong that screwing around with Chad phase as long as they possibly can. They end up settling down with these guys, and then the men that they settle down with, they don't actually like. I don't think a lot of these women provide status, to be honest with you, particularly on any sort of closer inspection. Like, you talk to the women, oftentimes they don't provide status whatsoever. They're very they're very much a liability to men.
And fun, amazing things to be doing on the holidays. You might be giving him children so he's not alone in his old age. You're going to be amplifying his status in the eyes of his coworkers, his colleagues, other women. He is touch-starved. He is lonely. No one is paying attention to him except you.
Just by the way, a lot of dudes are lone, they're alone. It doesn't mean that they're lonely people. Some guys are totally fine being by themselves. In fact, I would argue there are a lot of men who enjoy their alone time. They enjoy their peace and quiet and things like this. And they're not looking for women to do their spiritual labor for them. Okay, like they don't need all of these exciting events and like all of this different crap. I'm sorry, men are still not buying it. I don't think, oh, men are lonely. You're giving him intimacy, which, by the way, a lot of these women just treat intimacy like it's a transaction anyway. So let's just throw that out there. She's like, oh, well, men are lonely, so my presence must just be so valuable to the man. Try again. Okay, because a lot of the guys who you consider lonely actually just like being by themselves as well. And even if they don't, let's just say they are looking for someone, they're probably not looking for the women who make TikTok videos about doing spiritual and emotional labor, to be honest with you.
Attention to him, except you. Because you are doing these things, he has that in his life, and that is so valuable, and men are draining by default. They are going to take your time, your energy, your love. And the way that they counterbalance this is if a man starts pouring back into you by appreciating you as the source.
I don't know why this woman keeps calling women and herself the source. I don't understand this.
That is how this is balanced, is a man who recognizes that you are the source and pours into you, sees you, loves you, uplifts you, appreciates you. And that is the only way that this value exchange is made right and true and honest, is by him recognizing you as a source, appreciating you for everything that you're doing, and honoring that sacred exchange.
Guys, I have nothing against appreciating your significant other, okay? If they're out here doing things for you, like they're making you home-cooked meals and taking care of the house, obviously deserving of gratitude. But these women who are out here demanding that men pour into them, quote-unquote, because they do emotional and spiritual labor, oh, hell no, man. Oh, hell no. Now, I wanted to get onto this topic about men being draining to women. This is absolutely hilarious to me because we all know this is completely backwards. I really wanted to show you this. So this is a situation that's very common for women, and I found this over on Reddit. So this is a woman who is dating over 40, and what you'll notice is that women don't like to date men on a long-term basis that don't earn more money than them, right? So on the one hand, we have this crazy woman with her TikTok video saying that men are draining. But on the other hand, we have women who do not want to date a man who does at least a good amount better than she does. Okay, again, I've stressed this on the channel many times, okay, but dudes can go out here, they can marry a McDonald's worker. They can go out there and they can marry a woman who doesn't even have a job. They don't particularly give a damn a lot of the time. So we don't care about your resources. Okay, we're not out here to drain women. But women, on the other hand, check this out. This is a woman who's dating over 40. Her username here is Cheeky Monkey 678. Top 1% commenter, which is crazy to me. There is no hidden pool of good men you've overlooked or don't have access to. Take a moment and think about all of the men you know, married, single, divorced, of all ages, even family and celebrities. Are there any men you can think of who you would say, wow, he's really terrific and I would love to have a partner like him? We often blame our dating woes on age, appearance, geography, or some other factor. My personal opinion is that there are precious few quote-unquote good men to choose from. They simply don't exist, right? And I'll get onto the finances down here in a moment. So she says, I used to live in a smaller southern city, which has a reputation for having a female to male ratio dating pool of 6 to 1. There were a lot of very attractive and accomplished women in that city, right? Check this out. This is where we start introducing the finances. None of us had trouble getting dates, but the men there didn't offer much. I saw some really terrific women settle for some seriously subpar men. I didn't know any men there that I thought were desirable relationship material. So check this out, guys. The accomplished women, you know, the women of today, they could go out there, they could get the hookups, okay? They could get the bedroom action, the bedroom fun. But when it came down to locking down a guy, a lot of them struggled. And do you know why a lot of them struggled? Because they wanted the men who provided finances. They wanted the men who did better than them. It's just very interesting to me, guys, how women are claiming that men are the ones who drain, and yet women are the ones who have the, for example, financial requirement to date a dude long term. It makes absolutely no sense. Again, dudes don't give a crap about this. They really don't. So check this out. This woman, according to her, there were no desirable men in this southern city. So what does she do? She moves to New York City, where she belongs. I now live in the New York City metro area. There are literally millions of men to choose from. I still don't come across suitable men. I see women settling for guys who are not on their level financially. Notice that's the first thing she mentions. Financially, professionally, with regard to education, and definitely not IQ or EQ. My work brings me into contact with different people all the time, and I'm not seeing these great men anywhere. So when these women are talking about great men, I ask you the question, what are they really talking about? Are they talking about men who are, you know, who have good morals, who would love them to the best of their ability, okay, who care about them deeply and things like this? Or are they talking about the men who have resources? Because I would argue, personally, that it's the latter. And this is a complication, guys, for women, especially as they get older. They push into their 30s, they push into their 40s. It's not that there are no good men. It's just that if you have a woman who's successful, or even not successful, she always wants to be having a relationship, typically, with a man that is at least doing better than she is. So this successful career woman moves to New York City, and despite the fact that there are millions of men to choose from, none of these successful men want to have a relationship with her. Now, you might be thinking, well, how does this relate back to the original TikTok over here, guys? But remember what this woman said. Okay, this woman's point in her video, let me just pull it back up for a second. This woman's whole point was that men were draining. You know, like we just contribute nothing. The women were there doing the spiritual labor, the emotional labor. The only kind of labor she mentioned that actually made sense was domestic labor. But let's be honest, a lot of modern day women can't do that whatsoever. But at the end of the day, it's actually the women who are draining dudes in a very, very literal sense in terms of finances, guys. You know, like who's demanding more of relationships? It certainly isn't men. You can talk to dudes, you can ask them what they require out of a woman, and he will give you like 3 things max. 3 things. Women, on the other hand, boom, this, and the list just gets greater, right? More things as they get older and older. So let's just continue here. My work brings me into contact with different people all the time, and I'm not seeing these great men anywhere. So where are they? They aren't taken. The marriages I see look mostly like the stuff of nightmares from my perspective. Take some time and give it some thought. Have you actually seen real-life examples of the type of man you would like to have? How many can you think of? If you can think of a few, are they married? If they are family members, is your perception accurate or perhaps biased in some way? We've all been searching for that elusive needle in a haystack, but the truth is it may not even exist. And this is the problem, guys, is you have women, they get to these ages, they think that they're providing the whole world, okay? They think that they deserve a top-tier man, when at the end of the day, they deserve absolutely nothing. But guys, we're going to be leaving today's episode there. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and your comments. Make sure you guys take care of yourselves, and I'll be seeing you all in the next one. Peace.